Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Kiefhofer. I'm the Criminal Justice Program Director at Salem University online, and I just wanted to do a small episode here on what we're naming a CJ Talks, more of a collaboration with fellow instructors at Salem University online and on campus. And we're going to be presented with one of our online students who's also a working deputy sheriff in Michigan. So I wanted to kind of do a free flow of this small presentation and kind of discuss some dialogue, the importance of an online degree in the professional field, and just kind of take it from there. So to start, if one of the instructors could help us out here on an introduction, well, we can start with Hillary Leon. If you could kindly just go over your position and Salem University with that.
Hi, my name is Hillary Leon. I teach a lot of the on-ground, on-campus courses. So I will see you for your core classes. I also do online as well. So usually I will have you before you go into your courses. We'll do a lot of criminal evidence procedure, criminal law, constitutional law, Dr. Lounsbury, which we'll hear from in a little bit. And I do a on ground course, basically if you're on campus or criminal investigations, and he sets up this whole crime scene, and the students tend to love that. It's very interactive course. And we go through the beginnings of you're walking into a murder scene all the way through, and you have to solve this crime. So we have a lot of hands-on things like we do like that. And generally we have small classes, so you'll get to know your students, your peers online or in the classroom as well.
Thank you, Hillary. Dr. Cameron, if you can give us a small introduction.
Yeah, sure. I'm Dr. Robert Cameron. I've been teaching here at Salem online exclusively for about 11 years now. And I've just really enjoyed my time here. So teaching online, we don't get to do fun stuff like murder investigations, which I actually want to go do that now. But but we do. I teach a lot of the same courses that Hillary was talking about. Policing, criminal justice related courses at the undergraduate and graduate level. Really enjoy the format. 4 weeks. We fly through some material and get a lot done in a month's worth of time. So it's fast-paced, content is great, and I really enjoy working here. So.
Great, thank you, Dr. Cameron. Dr. Lounsbury, you're next on base here. If you could share your introduction with us.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Cam Lounsbury, and up until, I don't know, Ray, has it been 6 months yet? I was the director of the criminal justice, right? I was the director of the criminal justice program. I had the privilege of coming down and taking over the program right about the time I think, Bob, you started. And I had run it up until right about 6 months ago. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get the Masters of Criminal Justice in place with a couple of specializations that we have there. Before I have to say I had another privilege to be able to handle this or hand this program off to Dr. Kiefhofer, and he has hit the ground running with everything that I started with. So everything good that happens from here, you'll have to blame on Ray, but I got to pick on him because he really has taken a great turn with the program so far. And I think everybody would be pretty impressed with the things that he's doing. This in particular is particularly interesting. I never got a chance to do something like this. So this is a great, move forward for you, Ray, and I appreciate this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Lansbury. Next up, with privilege, I wanted to present Deputy Tracey Kiefhofer. If you could share us kind of your introduction from your beginning stages up through your course attendance at Salem University, and anyone feel free to chime in as well. It's again very non-formal CJ talks here, so I'll leave the floor to Tracey. Thank you.
So my name is Deputy Tracey Kiefhofer. I've been with the Allegan County Sheriff's Office for about 4 years now. Prior to that, I was with Ottawa County Sheriff's Office as a victim services advocate. So did a lot of work with domestic violence crimes, working with the victims there, death investigations. Obviously, if somebody passed, they needed some victim services there. So with the domestic violence investigations and stuff. Kind of fell in love with what I was doing and saw another side of criminal justice. So then I decided mid 30s to go back to college. I went to a college based here in Michigan just because it worked with my MCOLS, my Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement license. So I could go to the academy. So I got my bachelor's in criminal justice because I wanted to be able to do more for the victims of crimes like that. So went to a college here based in Michigan. From there, I went to the Mid-Michigan Police Academy where I completed the 17-week police academy. And right off the gate there, I was hired with Allegan County. So my career there thus far has been amazing. Obviously, my educational background is not necessary in my field, but I feel that it is needed. Since going into Allegan County, I've become a crisis negotiator, formerly known as a hostage negotiator. We don't call it that too much anymore. I more specialize in the mental health crisis that we're dealing here. I am now a crisis intervention specialist. So I go out on calls of service that have to do with somebody that is suffering some kind of mental crisis, SWAT calls with obviously barricaded subjects. But I have obviously done a pretty good job in my role there because they have talked about moving me up to the rank of detective. So that was ultimately my goal anyways. But I figured going into that role, I needed to further my education. Obviously, you know, when you're in the field, you do learn a lot by, you know, your experience, which is great. But an education kind of brings you from a learner to a contributor in your field. So the more knowledge I have, the more schooling I have, obviously, the more I can contribute, the less they're going to have to train me because I will already have a lot of classes from, you know, obviously Salem University that will contribute to what I'm doing in the field, especially with forensics. So as a detective, we are basically responsible for checking our own crime scenes. So this is going to be a tremendous help in furthering my career.
Great. Thank you so much, Tracey. Any questions, Bob, Hillary, Cam, that you might have on kind of what she's went over?
Yeah, Tracey, let me nail you down a little bit on the crisis negotiations, because in my previous life, I'm old enough to remember when we were calling it hostage negotiations. In fact, I was the team leader at one of the facilities I went to. What do you think happened in the field that kind of made us recognize that it's not just hostage situations that these negotiating skills can come in handy for?
Mental health crisis. I mean, we are now seeing just an uptick in, maybe it's just research has come farther along and now we're understanding mental illness a little bit more and how to handle people in those situations. So as police officers, you're trained to go in and take down the bad guy. Well, somebody suffering a mental health crisis and, you know, that is in crisis is obviously not necessarily a bad guy. So flipping our brains from that, let's go in and take care of the bad guy, to we need to go in and help, is I think a huge thing in where we're going with this. For me, I have been on calls where I've had a barricaded subject and he's a bad guy and he just, you know, DV'd his wife. But I've also had a barricaded guy who's schizophrenic and he has no idea what in the world is going on. So, you know, any scenario could be behind that door and you have to be prepared for it. So obviously, I think just the change right now and just how much more prominent mental health issues are, people in crisis are, we're dealing with a multitude of different things. So being able to flex yourself and be innovative in that situation and learn more about it is super important.
So do you see, again, you know, my experience was that it was straight up bad guys, and the reason they were barricaded was because they had hostages. But I can kind of see it in my own mind, but would you agree that a lot of those skills transfer, I think, from negotiating with a hostage taker to negotiating with a somebody who has some kind of mental illness, or maybe in crisis because of, as you said, schizophrenia and things like that. Do you, I have to say I haven't dealt with that piece of it. You know what I mean? Mine was all the bad guys. So would you agree that those skills tend to transfer?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yep. Being able to talk to people, de-escalate. That's all part of policing, but also, trying to talk somebody that's suicidal off of a bridge. You have to be able to negotiate and talk to them, de-escalate them. So all of those skills transfer over. It's just a matter of going from up here to, we got to get the bad guy, to down here, let's get this person some help. So yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I have a similar question that I'm thinking about. You talked about domestic violence. I'm curious. My career in probation and parole for many years dealt with both perpetrators and victims of domestic violence, and so I'm curious from your role as a deputy sheriff, how has your education informed the ways that you are interacting with both the perpetrators and the victims of domestic violence when you come across those situations?
Yeah, I've taken, for my graduate, I took psychology and sociology. So that is a tremendous thing that you need to learn. And it's, you can learn by experience, but that's going to take a long time. So unless you go in with that firsthand knowledge, I mean, it may not be to the extreme of, wow, I've taken 4 or 5 psychology classes. Maybe I just took 1 or 2. That's more knowledge than the average person. I've seen a lot of, actually, we just hired a 19-year-old in our department who is going through field training to become a rota officer. So no life experience, no college background. So that concerns me to a degree, because you haven't taken any classes to further your knowledge on the things that we are seeing, such as, the mental health crisis, domestic violence laws. It's basically, you're just going to depend on your field training officer to teach you everything you need to know. But without that education, you're missing so much. I think it should be a necessary thing, not my call, but obviously the more education you have, that's why I was super excited to get into this master's degree, especially with forensics. Knowledge is power. And just going in relying on what you already know is without an education isn't going to really do you much good. Having that further education, even just a bachelor's degree, even an associate's, taking those classes that help you work with those types of people, it's priceless, honestly.
Yeah.
I used a lot of what I've learned in my undergrad right off the bat in in my career. And I'm very thankful that I had that, because without it, I probably would have stood there looking at my FTO like deer in headlights, like, I don't know what to do. Help.
What do
like,
I do? Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you actually, so you have that opportunity. What I hear you saying is, you have that opportunity to take that theoretical learning from the classroom and actually apply it in real world settings where it's really meaningful, because domestic violence is such a complex dynamic that having that background sounds like it's been really valuable for you. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Even just the terminology. I mean, you learn a lot of terminology. And, you just have an undergrad or whatever, things that you need to write your reports and writing. I've noticed a lot of these students right out of high school, their writing skills aren't where they need to be. And when you get into the field, you have a lot of writing to do. You have to write your reports. You have to use the correct verbiage, those kind of things. So I teach a criminal evidence and procedure. When we teach it on campus, we do mock trials. So every person in the class is going to be the prosecutor at one point. They're going to be the defendant at one point, and they're also going to be a juror. So we will do 3 trials, and so they each get to experience all of those roles. So they get to see, and argue and just have a feel for what it's like in the real world, because coming from high school, you don't have that real world experience. And at least in the education, if you're getting a degree, you're getting a lot of terminology and things like that you are going to need in your field.
Absolutely. My undergrad, I took report writing, and that was a class that you could not get under an 85% in. That was ultimately one of the most important classes. And then following to the academy, if you did not pass report writing, you did not pass the academy. I am actually spoiled because we dictate our reports, which if I'm doing like a domestic or, a violent crime of some sort, I will type it out myself because I want it to be perfect. Um, Dictating it, you lose where you're at and you go super fast. So, and I didn't want to lose those skills of writing. So it's super, super important. And I was thankful that the Academy took that time to really make sure that we were good writers and that, you know, our cases weren't going to get thrown out because we did a really bad job on that.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah,
get a lot of
there's-
practice at
Oh, go
Salem
ahead.
University, either through the discussions online, just your posts that you have to do. And then we always have like a writing assignment, whether sometimes it's only a short one, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but it definitely gives you that experience in writing that you're going to need in the field.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I've always tried to put into the program, and again, I pick on Ray because he carries this forward, is, when you look at who we have here, we've got everybody from typically the first person that the public, the first contact with the criminal justice system is sitting in this meeting. Tracey is, I don't know how many times that you've been the first on the scene of anything. It doesn't matter what it is. But, Hillary, you've, I'm sure, spent your time in court and spent your time, researching cases and things like that. Ray and I spent the bulk of our careers in correctional services, and Bob is as parole and probation and release. And I guess what I'm getting at is there is a connection between all five of us. And I think it's making those connections that the college experience can help you with. It's not just, going through this class and get this paper written and all that kind of stuff. It's the critical thinking is so
Yep.
essential in this field. And you have to be able to make the connection between what Tracey sees on the street, what Hillary's going to put in her indictment or her defense, or what, and
Yep.
what we're going to see when they get into the, and I just think that's one of the most critical points that I'd want to get across to students is
Yep.
critical thinking is essential. It'll save your situation. I don't know how many times, but you have to practice. As Hillary said, you have to practice.
Yeah, and I was reflecting too, as you're talking about report writing, that there's nothing worse than testifying in court and being unprepared or underprepared for that experience. And I'm thinking about when I was early in my career, I had some of those experiences. Yeah, you quickly learn that being prepared, having a top quality report can make all the difference. So I'm wondering, Tracey, if you've had that experience for yourself in court, where you've testified and perhaps your education, your preparation has been really critical to that process.
Absolutely. The Academy prepares you the best they can, but obviously continuing your education and having that constant, writing or collaborating with other people, being able to talk back and forth. It keeps you really fresh on what you need to do. Obviously, I've probably written, I don't know, thousands of reports. It's every day. Our department, it's you go to a civil, you write a report. You go to a custody dispute, you write a report. You go to a domestic, you write a 4-hour report. It's constant report writing. And at the beginning, when I first started out, I would always bring out my books. I had a report writing book that I had picked up, and it just, all of that knowledge and all of those headers and everything in that book, I relied heavily on that because I was talking to our prosecutor. What do you want to see in our reports? How do you want it written? What can I do better? Because obviously, if you take that much time and really want to do the job right, you want to write good reports and get justice for your victim. Or if it's, a faulty claim, you want to be able to, prove what's going on. So for me, the more I learn about writing and what works and can stay fresh on it, the better. I've had several reports where I've just kind of ran through it as fast as I could, and I'm like, oh crap, they they authorized on this and now we're going to court and I probably didn't take the time I should have on this report. And I'm in front of the judge.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I have had our circuit court judge just pick me apart. Like, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, yep, you're right. So, you know, what you put on paper, how you write, how articulate you are is huge. And continuing your education and staying abreast on that is going to tremendously help you and maybe even keep you out of court because I mean, it's been about 2 years since any of my cases have gone to court and I've gotten guilty pleas on 4 or 5 pretty big cases where
Mm.
she's like, well, you know, you write a good report. It's not always going to keep you out of court, but it very well could, and it has. So, you know, my testifying skills are probably not that great right now, but at least my report writing skills are. Thank you to my education.
I just have this
Always
horrible
had to.
vision in my head of myself sitting in the witness, you know, in the dock, while Hillary approaches me and shows me this paper. Do you recognize this document, Mr. Lonsberg? No. Well, it's a report you wrote last time. Oh, great. I don't know. I think I turned to dust, you know, right
Mm.
Well, thank you, Tracey, for adding that, and everyone for those questions. This is great. This is exactly where we want to be with our dialogue, and really giving a real sense of who we are at Salem University, and as instructors and as a whole, as a team, for student success. Not really much to go on the platform in terms of the 4-week term. That's pretty standardized, and Hillary's already pretty much explained that pretty well, and so has Tracey with just the course flow, the resources in the courses are, you know, our one-stop shop, you know, Learn Library, or our tutor services, to our writing center reports that are very, very easy and transparent to all of our students, especially with the new students coming in, as Hillary would see from all of our students coming in that are just need to brush up on some skills and some extra support. But that's pretty much, I guess, in closing, that's what we're going at with these CJ talks, is to really show that education is important in our career fields, and that we are, as Cam had said, we're all interconnected with each other, and it's not just taking a class and passing it and then getting a degree. It's bigger than that. So, but that's our message to all viewers who are active at Salem University and who are really thinking on enrolling at Salem University, and we would be happy to have you and work with you.
I can attest, as a current student right now, working in the field, a lot of overtime, you know, a lot of what I have to do in my job, I still have time to sit down and do my work, and appreciate any feedback I get from my instructors. It's nice to have instructors from many different backgrounds in CJs, because it opens my eyes a little bit more. So I think that's extremely beneficial. You know, Salem University offers such an array of people to teach you, and they're very passionate and supportive as you go through this. So, you know, 4-week classes, it makes it easy. They open up all of, you know, most of the classes I've taken thus far, they open up all the weeks. You can see what you have ahead of you, put in, you know, my time management. This is what I need to do, map it out. For me, there are some weeks where I'm in training all week and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get a jump start. So you're able to work with your instructor, and they're going to understand, you know, hey, I have this going on, but I'm going to get my work done. And they are super supportive. So I couldn't have asked for a better college to enroll in, better instructors, and 4-week classes just to, you know, get this master's done. That way, when I transition into the DB, I will actually have my degree. So my department's super excited about that, as am I, you know, to continue my education, become more of a contributor versus a learner in my field. And I just appreciate all of my instructors for really being top notch and caring.
Thank you, Tracey, for that.
Awesome.
Thank you. Means a lot.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
any closing thoughts, Ken, Bob, Hillary, on our wrap up of our first collaboration?
Well,
it
I would
it
just,
went real well.
yeah, I mean, I would just say that as a professor at Salem, I feel supported as well. And I think that contributes to kind of this overall environment of support. So it's been a great place to work. I wouldn't have been here this long if it was
Excellent.
otherwise. So yeah, it's been a really good experience as as a teacher as well.
I appreciate you putting this together, Ray. I think
Yeah,
this will be great for the program, great for the students, and I definitely look forward to doing another one of these.
Yes,
it's awesome.
great. Anything else anybody would like to add? I don't want to close it up without any extra feedback, but I think it went really well. So I'll go ahead and close this CJ Talks this time, and thank you, Hillary, Cam, and Bob, and especially Tracey for sharing her journey up to Salem University. And I appreciate everyone's feedback. And again, for those that are watching at home, reach out to Salem University. We'd be happy to talk to you and have that conversation. I'm very reachable through the university. If you're interested in looking at our CJ program, we'd be happy to have you. So, all right, thanks again. And we'll talk to you in our next TED Talks or CJ Talks. Thanks so much.